It's fine. I don't mind being hidden. Kind of hard to see though.
You're on there.
Where? Oh, there I am. There's my head. Okay. All right. This is John Burr. We're calling the meeting due to technical difficulties. Open at 6:48 p.m. And first item is roll call. I'm here. Helen? Helen, are you?
Present. I'm unmuted now.
Pardon?
Yep.
Okay, great. Pat's,
Present.
great. Pat's here in person. Yes?
Yes.
Maurice?
All right.
Great. Stan is here.
Yep.
Present. And Lynn?
Present.
Great. All right, we have a quorum of all 6 members. The LAR was posted about a week ago. Did everyone pull it up from the website when you were reviewing things? And did it look okay? Our last meeting was on May 21st. Would anyone like to make a motion to adopt the minutes of 5/21/2024?
This is Helen, so moved. The minutes.
Okay, Maurice got it first. Are you okay seconding, Helen?
Yes.
Great. Maurice and Helen. Any comments, changes?
No.
Oh, all right. Roll call. All in favor? I say aye.
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 Great. 6-0. Okay. Call to the audience for any comments received by you by last Friday. That was the due date you put on it.
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. No call to the audience, and we have no audience present here today. Okay, we'll move on to item 4, reviews. Item A, 720 South 3rd Avenue, SD 0824 00080. Repair back porch enclosure, new stucco, new window and door locations, repair back porch stem wall foundation, modify one window opening and replace one side door with window on main part of the house, new masonry front wall at front of house with 4-foot max height, full review. And who is presenting?
I saw Alex.
I think it's
Gordon.
Alex.
Yeah, it's Axel.
Okay, Mr. Axel, do you want to share the screen so you can present your project?
Sure. Yeah.
Christina, can you make him the co-host, please?
So Axel. Okay.
Axel Gordon.
Right.
You should be able to share your screen now, Alex. Axel.
Thank you. All right. Is that clear to everyone? Can you see?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's about 1 inch high, but yeah.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. Maybe I can, maybe on my computer, I can make it full screen for you.
It's good by me. I looked at it yesterday.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Just a quick question to the board. You all had a chance to look at it in advance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You've all seen it, so it's fine. We can kind of navigate.
Volume up a little bit.
And we have a printout here with us.
Good. Perfect. Yeah, and I can zoom in on it here too. Like I have a tool here. I could come in.
Okay.
If you need.
That'd be cool.
Okay. All right. So yes, this project, it's 720 South 3rd, as you just mentioned. This is the development zone. What's interesting about this lot is it's pretty big and it does stretch all the way back to Railroad, which is sort of an alley, sort of a street, right?
It's a named avenue.
Right. Okay. It has a little kink in the lot right here, but other than that, it's a pretty rectangular lot.
Yeah, the front's 60 feet wide and the back is 66, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Great.
All right, moving on. Here's the aerial views. You can see the back of the lot's mainly empty. There is a tough shed in the corner and a big rolling gate. The front, you can see.
This looks like our backyard, honey.
The porch is enclosed. Right now. Here's some side views, some aerial side views. Here's kind of the other side of the street, surrounding photo. And here's the house. It's a painted brick with the belt course around the whole thing. The belt course also serves as the window sills in a lot of areas, like in this photo. Can you guys see my cursor too?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this is the belt course. You can see it's, it's kind of architectural feature where it serves as this windowsill. It's a pyramidal roof with exposed wooden eaves, and front porch arcade is pretty unique because it wraps around the side in this L shape, and that's the kitchen door right there. Most windows are identical, and they're these double hung. They're 73 by 37. Yeah, really simple, like wood framed windows seen around the whole neighborhood.
So they're basically 3x6 and a slightly larger opening.
Yeah, yeah. And they have those old, those old balance things on the inside. We have a really good side note, we have a really good woodworker who's knows how to make these new and also is good at restoring them too. Who's part of the project.
I would like that person's name because I need new windows also.
Oh yeah, I'll totally share it. He's really really detailed, and he loves these old windows. And I should have brought some pictures because he impeccably reproduced these windows he milled them himself. And then he made them double pane too. But that was another project in El Presidio that was very similar to this one, where we also repaired the back porch.
You can send the information to Michael and he can forward it to us that I can share with the board.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool.
Because there's hardly anyone making windows with the original OGs on the upper styles left. You can't buy them manufactured anymore.
Right. And yeah, he solved this whole problem where he found a modern way to make the balances inside. It's like a coiled spring that he puts on either side, and that anyways, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. But he kind of reverse engineered the whole thing, and he's local. But so I'll definitely share all that info. Yeah, so just to finish up, yeah, it has these wood pediments that are pretty cool, the shingles, and it has a bouldered stem wall foundation across the main house. The back porch, I call it a back porch because I'm pretty sure that that's what it was. It was open at some time, and then it's been enclosed over the years in different ways, adding windows and a 2x4 wall and I think at one time, peeling back the layers, you can kind of see at one time maybe it was just a beadboard, and then they put stucco on top of it. And right now, the previous owner had tried to repair it without permits. So we want to peel all that back and then re-enclose it. Well, not fully take it apart, but take it back to its bones and then enclose it in a sinuous nature. So yeah, that's the main narrative. As far as the main house, there's a couple modifications to the main part of the house, where one window we're proposing to turn to a door, or I'm sorry, one door we're proposing to turn to a window, and then we're wanting to enlarge one window opening, and that's all said there in the narrative that you guys were given. And I'll show it more in depth here. So here's some more detail images. There's the front porch. It's not, it doesn't look great, but it really isn't in bad shape. It's really looks pretty good. It has this interesting header feature where there's a wedged, masonry. That was an interesting thing to note.
It's called a voussoir.
Voussoir, right?
Yeah.
And you can see the belt course around here. One of these bricks, we'd like to repair all of these spots that are like that and just mortar those areas. Here's the back porch with the main focus of work. You can see that beadboard that was underneath the stucco. You can see that there were 3 meters at one time, so it must have been a triplex. You can see these kind of different windows that are different sizings. Here is the unapproved work that's more recent. The owner had started dry stacking blocks, and this is a previous owner, so we don't know. From my research, it wasn't permitted. So we're proposing to come in and properly build a new stem wall that matches the existing parts of the stem wall and stucco this properly. And there's going to be a door here. Here's some of the existing parts of the stem wall. So you can see that it was red brick at one time. You can see the piers under the porch here in this photo. You can really see the construction type that we're going to match. Oops, sorry. Here's the front elevation. No changes here, other than but we're also proposing a 4-inch, a 4-foot front garden wall. So that's not, but the elevation will be unchanged here.
I take it you're taking out the ramp.
Yeah, yes. We're going to keep the ramp for construction purposes, though.
Okay.
It's going to make things a little easier. But yes, the ramp will be gone. That's right. Here's the back porch. You can see that unapproved work. And we're also going to move the mini split to the south side. That's also in the plans. Here's another picture of the whole thing. So this is the door on the south side that we're proposing to change to a window that'll match these other 3 windows. So this transom will become the top of the window, and then we'll infill the brick up to the belt course and then match the belt course across, and then install the new window. You can see the new mini split location on the right, and you can see the new water heater location on the left. That'll tuck right in the corner here. This is the other window that I was proposing to enlarge. This is the kitchen windows, and the idea is to open them up into one opening and install this hinged window right above the kitchen sink. And here's a rendered view of the back porch. This is kind of an idea of what it would look like. All of these windows and doors will be made by our local artisan. And we're just going to retain that existing porch and bring the brick across and stucco it. And then there'll be a new door here on the left that I think I have a picture of. Yeah. So this will be a new door with a new masonry steps coming off. And then on the south, there'll be the existing window that is in there we believe is, I think we can look back to the pictures, but I don't know when that was put in. It seemed like it's rather new, but we're proposing to match all these windows the same across the back and the side. And then you can also see the rendering of the new window in the door location on the right. and you can see what the water heater will look like in its case on the right as well. These are some front masonry wall examples that we've seen around the neighborhood that are newly built. So some of these are higher than 4, I believe, 4 feet, but I think possibly this one on the bottom right might be 4. Actually, that one's probably 5. Anyways, this is
Those
sort
don't
of
apply. Those don't
what's that?
apply. There are examples of 4-foot masonry walls in your development zone, but those are elsewhere in the neighborhood, and they're actually side fences.
They are sidewalls.
Yeah.
Okay, so can sidewalls go higher?
Sidewalls past the front facade can be 6 foot high, and in the front yard, they can be 4 feet.
Okay, great. Wasn't able to find that exact verbiage on the code in the UDC, so that's good information. Thank you.
It's actually in the TSM section, in section 9-02
Okay.
for
Thank
Armory
you.
Park and general HPZ design standards. It's the supplemental that is part of the code, but somewhat distinct from the code, but it applies. It's where the original guidelines from way back when were incorporated for the HPZs.
I have a question, John.
Yeah.
Where else are 4-foot walls on South 3rd Avenue?
I don't know. I'll have to drive up and down. But the city has taken a slightly different tack. They allowed it, for instance, on South 4th Avenue in a block that didn't have any, because the Secretary of Interior standards say that fences can't be higher than 4 feet in front of a National Register property. Ideally, the masonry part is lower, but it can be no higher than 48 inches, although it can have open metalwork above that. And so the city has recently granted a few if there are sidewalls on blocks that are taller than 4 feet, but it's not traditional.
Yeah, because I mean,
those images are not in the development zone. Your development zone, because the property is addressed on South 3rd in the middle of the block, is your block face on all the way corner to corner, and the opposite face corner to corner.
Is this this is the development zone?
The development zone is basically both sides of South 3rd between 17th and 18th Street, period. That's it.
If 4 feet wall do not exist, the code allows for that. So it doesn't have to exist if it is already allowed by code.
Yeah. The biggest problem is there are no plans for your wall or the gate, and we do have to have plans to be able to review that, so we can't do that part of it tonight. But theoretically, you could put a 4-foot masonry wall with a gate along your front, in your front yard.
Mr. Chair, can
yeah, I'll
Could
just
I
put it
on what we end up doing.
Could I add it as a supplemental, because I have a picture of it right here. I have a drawing here.
That doesn't look so bad. Unfortunately, that didn't come to us in time, and I requested it last week, and we didn't get it through the city. Theoretically, it looks okay. If that's the only question to the board tonight before we make a motion, then we could do it as a minor review.
Okay.
But conceptually, it looks okay from that image.
It does not.
Noting that image was not available to the board before this meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. According, looking at this, your windows are more than 4 feet off of floor level. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a stem wall, and then there's some space above the stem wall. So
the house is raised up about almost 2 feet off the ground. And the regular windows are about 3 feet up. The belt course is approximately 3 feet. Another problem is there are no dimensions on any of these plans, and they are required for historic review. So that's leading to more questions than you might expect.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the note here for 4 foot, but I can add a dimension on the wall. The wall is 4 feet.
And the gate you are showing there, is it wood or metal, or just generally, what are you thinking?
Well, on this note here,
Which we cannot see because it is smaller than a quarter on our screen.
Now it's bigger than my phone.
It sounds okay, but it again, yeah, there's going to be some questions coming up. So let's just see where we are. Look, overall, conceptually, you're doing a great job, but there's some, because this property's been toyed with so many times for the last 40 years. There's a lot of stuff that's not mentioned tonight that is still kind of outstanding and has never been reviewed, because the last permit was for side corrugated steel walls about 5 years ago and some utility upgrades, but the back fence, the sliding gate, the shed, any of it, none of it was permitted, nor the re-roofing and the removal of chimneys and so on and so forth. So and you're not responsible. And, you know, Steve Jackson, the former owner, lived there for 36 years. He was a great guy. Unfortunately, he got mauled by a bear last June and died.
What?
And yes, he had a cabin just outside of Prescott. It was like in the national news. He was killed by a male bear while he was having coffee in the morning. And the bear was eventually shot, and he died of his injuries. And he had one daughter, and she tidied the place up apparently and sold it this spring. And it has a new floor plan. It was converted to a triplex. The back porch was extended in 1972. It was enclosed in the 70s by the previous owner before that. It was turned into a triplex in 1987. It had 3 bathrooms until 2 years ago. It was converted back into a duplex in 2020, and now it is a single family. That's why you see what's there. But a number of the doors have been modified. A number of the exterior features have been modified, and the floor plan has been modified almost irretrievably, because the 2 windows, which are now over the kitchen sink, were 2 bathrooms until a couple years ago.
wow.
So,
How did you find that information?
I knew the guy, and I've known people that have lived in the various apartments there.
Wow.
I would not be surprised. I hope you did an audit when your client purchased the property, because it would not surprise me if there's a fair amount of bob and tube.
Yeah, I did a pretty extensive audit, but only from what I can see.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And yeah, I went up in the attic and I looked around, and most of the work looks really good. I've had engineers to the site.
He built his own cabin, and it was a hobby of his, and some of the work was good and some of it was strange.
Yeah.
But none of it has ever been reviewed for a permit.
Yeah.
Since it had bob and tube in the 70s.
Right.
Just so you know. Okay, let's keep going with the presentation, and then we'll we'll have our questions.
All right. So yeah, we're almost done here on my end. So here's my proposed elevations. A lot of this you've seen, but just to have it included here, here's a south elevation showing the mini split location and the water heater and this new facade of the porch.
There is one second chimney on that south side currently. That's not
Oh,
shown
here?
in your elevation.
Oh,
It
okay.
is just above the bump out to the west of the door that you are proposing to replace as a window. And it comes up out of the roof. There was a third chimney that was removed at some point over on the north wall near where the kitchen is currently. But
Thank you.
that was removed at some unspecified date, and the building has been re-roofed about 4 times since the 80s that we can determine from our files. It's not your responsibility. You don't have to build a chimney that's been gone for 40 years, but you have to keep the one that's currently there.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, we're not proposing to demo or remove any of the main house elements other than what I've mentioned about the window and the door. That's it. So yeah, here's the back elevation. It should match the rendering, but this is an architecturally drawn one.
I
Here's
think
the
I think the
Go
porch
ahead.
sits a little higher on the porch extension, so it would probably show as a little bit higher, but there are no dimensions. But the aerials show it attaching to the roof another 6 inches to a foot up. That's
So
one. It was kind of hard to tell because the dimensions aren't there.
are you talking about the 12-foot?
No, where the existing porch that you appear to be retaining attaches to the enclosed rear porch you are modifying, it comes off at a higher elevation than the downslope edge of that roof. You can see it in the area.
So you said, I'm sorry, I'm not following. I feel like it's important for me to understand what you're saying. You said there's
The porch that you are showing on this elevation that has 2 posts that is there currently that you appear to be keeping
yeah,
is actually taller, and it attaches to the roof above the eave line.
I see.
You can see it in your aerial. It attaches farther up the roof than right at the edge.
Okay. All right.
I assume it's about 8 feet. 8,
Yeah.
8'10", something like that.
Okay. We're not, yeah, I mean, yeah, I can go in and measure that. We're not proposing to remove any of that or change any of that.
Okay.
So
I'm just saying the drawings don't fit the existing from what we can see from the images you provided. So they may need to be adjusted for construction plans.
okay. All right, here's the north elevation. You can see the steps and the door.
So you're going to take out a window there and put a door slightly to the west?
Yeah.
And
And again, we don't know if that we don't know when that window was put in.
2022, most likely.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very new, and it's not finished, the construction. And it's also not, none of the framing is to code. So it's not done properly, and it's not plumb, and it doesn't have a foundation correctly supporting it underneath it either.
Yeah, in fact, there may actually be a number of piers that are kind of hidden by the hardy board in one of the photographs you show, with 2 sets of piers there where the first extension of the porch and the second extension of the porch are bridged. That's hard to tell. So you may find you may have to do some interesting on-site modifications to shore up that porch.
Okay. Okay, here's the front elevation. This would be the east elevation. No changes to this elevation other than to repoint any bricks that are loose and refurbish and repaint the windows, the trim. And you can, this elevation is also significant because you can see the services on the left here.
Okay.
Here's the design standards. Would you guys like me to read all of this?
No.
Okay.
Jeez. We'll be here all night.
Yeah.
The only thing is your details page is, the details includes windows and doors, and projections and recessions includes window openings, original, that the Secretary of Interior standards suggest should be retained on the visible portions, just for your note.
So is that other than what I'm saying?
Yeah, for details, it just says contributing, and it's not all contributing. You're going to be replacing some of it.
Oh, I see. I see. So for the porch.
And repairing some things.
I see.
So there aren't any dimensions, and there's no south elevation, or full south photo. It appears there are currently two mini split systems. One is currently at the back, one is on the north, and you're moving one or buying a new one for the south side that you're proposing, correct?
Yeah.
And the problem is none of the plans are also annotated, so it's kind of hard to tell. So currently there's a 3-plex electric thing. You're showing the same location for a new electrical service, but it's currently a duplex configuration. Is that correct from what you've shown? I'm sorry.
Honestly, it's not habitable right now.
Okay.
The electrical is not like it. So I don't know what you're asking.
I assume your new electrical service, which may be a 100 or 200 amp service, will be in a similar location to where the current electrical boxes that is currently configured. One of the photos of the back shows it, currently configured for a triplex, but only 2 meters are on it currently. You're going to be replacing all of that at that same location?
Yeah, same location, and it's right here.
Okay.
And that's going to be a 200 amp service.
Okay. And from your render drawings, it looks like the back door is a 2-panel, 1-light door. Is that correct? And I'm assuming it's 6 feet 8 high, the door, and that's the setting for all the windows?
Yes.
How tall are those windows and how wide are they? There are no dimensions.
I have my drawings here.
Aha. Those are things that might be helpful to us to review.
Okay. Are you guys aware that the historic review punch list does not ask for the construction drawings to the sub record? So these drawings have been submitted to the main permit.
They're not available to us because it's the whole permitting process is in review and they were not shared with us, so we don't have any of them.
Alex.
So yes.
Though we do not ask for the history review, does not ask for construction drawings. The history review process does not say that you should not dimension plans. It is required. All plans are supposed to be dimensioned. So when you don't dimension your plans, you cannot say that because you have them on the constructions drawing. No. The site plan, the elevations, they have to be dimensioned, particularly with the history review. The window sizes needs to be called out, and you need to check the height and the width of all the windows. You need to call out the materials, whether they are wood, whether they are not wood, and that kind of thing. It needs to be done. And also, the document, what the board review is what the applicants submit. You cannot come on the day of the meeting and provide documentation to the board and expect them to review it and give you a recommendation on that. particularly the front door that you are just presenting to the board right now, is not part of this review because it was never submitted to staff, and so it was never forwarded to the board. So the board is going to disregard anything concerning the front wall because it was not submitted to the board at the time. However, the board can decide if they think that it is a good thing, the board can still decide to review the wall as a minor review instead of being part of this review. So please do not use the fact that you submitted construction drawings to justify the plans not being accurate as being mentioned here by the staff, by the board. The board expects all the elevations to be submitted. You cannot submit partial elevations and expect the board to make a recommendation on. That's all I wanted to bring to the attention of the board. If there's any other question, I'll be able to answer that you may have.
So it looks like the 6 windows you're proposing are about 2 feet wide and almost 3 feet tall, generally.
Yeah, they're 2'6" by 3'10".
Okay. 2'6" by 3'10". I better write that down. 2'6" by 3'10". And they appear to be double hung. Are they double hung? And what are they made out of?
They're double hung and they're made out of wood.
Okay.
And they're simple framed.
Okay. And I assume the top band is at 6'8" because the door you're showing in this particular image looks like a wood 2-panel single light door at 6'8" high. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. We're trying to get an idea for the concept so we know what to ask you for. But generally, it needs, yes, additions and modifications can, you can use items from the development zone, but it's supposed to go with the house. But this is, trust me, this is a way big improvement on what's there. You're going in the right direction. Conceptually, it's not a problem. It's just kind of the details that need to be in before we think you might be ready for plans review because they're going to ask the same stuff and you want to be ready for them. Okay.
Okay.
The current south window in the current front parlor does not have a window in it and is boarded up with plywood and has been for 2 years. You are not mentioning what you are doing with that. Was that window on site when the current client bought it? And are you restoring it or are you replicating it? If so, it will need to be shown and designated as such on our plans because it looked in some fashion, it's either a repair or replacement.
You said over the kitchen?
The front room that is currently a parlor that has a fireplace in it has a south window that is currently boarded up that is very visible in the still online Zillow listing and has been that way for a number of years.
So are you talking about this one here?
3 bay windows and then the window on the south wall of that front room is boarded up. And it's not mentioned. Is it on site or are you replicating?
So just so we're making sure.
It kind of shows, but it doesn't show because you have a glancing photo of the south area by the door that you're planning on replacing.
Yes, this area that you're talking about, this one.
Yes, that is just currently a piece of plywood inset into a frame painted white with some designs on it. It's been like that for a long time. What are you doing with it?
We're
the original there because the plans we got specify that you are restoring all existing original windows, one of which we know is not there.
That window is there. And it's going to be restored, as I said.
Okay, so you have enough of the components to restore that window with original materials.
Yes, and if whatever pieces are not there, they can be replicated and replaced with the artisan that I mentioned.
Okay, but it needs to be
Is
part of
that
the
okay?
plans.
Is that
Yeah,
okay with you?
that's perfectly fine. You're going in perfectly in the right direction. It just needs to be specified on this plan because this is the only plan that the city will reference in the future moving forward.
So how can I change that to better?
You just need to see original components and partial replacement of that window within existing
I pulled one out, honey.
window frame. Yeah. But it needs to be specified in the notes on the review package. And the door that you are planning to put back into a window was chopped out in the mid-1980s because that single room was became an access point for that one room, which was carved out as a studio among the other 3 rental units.
Oh, God.
So it's perfectly fine that you do restore that back to a window with the replicated base course and a replicated 3-by-6-foot window going back in the way it was, and we encourage that. That's great. But there is
So are you talking about this one here?
Yeah, but there is a vent under the sill that was chopped in when they cut it out. And there's another one farther along just under the easternmost of the 2 windows in the middle room that is also there. And there are a number of them. They're basically subfloor vents, and those are original features and character defining for the building. So you need to retain all of those. Okay. And hopefully screen them. And that should be part of what we review. Because right now they're just holes filled with rocks or rags. And then I will comment on the exterior thing. It's perfectly fine to have an exterior water heater, but it should not be visible from the front elevation at the street, and the location you are showing for it will be visible from the front.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Can you give a chance for other board members to comment so it doesn't look like?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, please. Just give a chance for other board members to comment, then you can come back.
Okay.
That way.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hog. It's just there's.
No,
I don't feel that there's enough here tonight to approve, and I would like to continue it. But yes, let's open it up.
Because when you listen to the tape, it will look like one person speaking. It will not look like the board. Please, let's give the opportunity for other board members to comment, and then you can always come in. Yeah.
I understand. Thank you for correcting me, Michael. Who wants to go first? Stan?
Yeah, I've got several questions. First of all, I'd like to make clear you're not adding any additional square footage to this project. Is that correct?
No.
No, you are?
Yes, it needs to say yes.
No, we're not adding any additional square foot. The existing perimeter of the building will remain the same. Okay. The roof line will remain the same. And the stem wall will be prepared to.
Okay, fine. You're talking about using stucco on the back. When I walked by from the alley, it looked like there were 2 types of textures on the stucco that was there. I don't know what you're planning to do with the stucco, but it would be nice to tell us what type of texture you're planning to use on the stucco, whether it be a smooth, a sand, or a skip trowel. So I would like to see that on the drawings. Do you know what you're using?
Can you just answer right now? Mr. Ansel, we've asked you the type of stucco you're going to use in the back. Do you have an idea of what you will be proposing?
Yeah, it'll be the texture that is there, which is it's a smooth stucco.
No,
It's a
he's
smooth sand
saying that
stucco.
there are two types of textures.
Well, the problem was when I looked from the alley, it looked like there were two types of texture on that
There's
back
many
wall.
types of texture.
It may be wrong, but all I want to do is know what kind you got, what you're using, and making sure it's consistent for everything.
Yeah. So the idea is to use a smooth sand stucco and have it be a sinuous texture across the entire area of that enclosure.
Let's that out on the revised plans, please.
Yeah, whatever you propose. Typical, it's generally a light sand finish in Armory Park on most buildings, but a smooth finish can be appropriate on certain things, but you need to call it out and specify it in the plans.
Okay, thank you.
On your electrical service, you obviously have three panels or 3 meters, so you got a triplex setup right now, but you're going to a single family 200 amp service. Are you replacing the existing meters and panels on that back wall?
Yes.
So you're going to take that off and then you can stucco and then put the panel on afterwards.
Correct.
Okay. Is the owner going to be acting as a contractor, or are they going to hire a contractor?
No, there'll be a licensed contractor pulling the permit.
Okay, good. On the notes, you indicated an unapproved construction. Can you tell us what that is and what you mean by that?
Yeah, the extent of it is hard, and it seems like the other member of your board here knows a lot more about it. But from my findings, you can see this corner here is very recent. It's actually unfinished. So you can see some, what is this? This is the northwest corner.
I'm not asking about what's not unfinished. I'm asking about the non-approved construction. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's unpermitted and it's not to code.
The whole thing?
Whole thing, the whole rear porch enclosure is.
Oh, okay.
It has.
All right, so that's going through that now.
There hasn't been a permit on the site since '48.
All right, okay.
So I'm proposing to permit this thing properly.
Yeah, and we're delighted that you are. We're just trying to help you dot I's and cross T's in doing so. It'll make your life a lot easier if we help you with this.
All right, next question I've got is that you are stating to repair or refurbish all doors and windows and add new windows on the back porch. My question is, of the windows that are existing, are they all the same type, meaning double hung wood windows with the same profile?
Yes, with exception to the two that are right here at the kitchen. And what was a previously bathrooms, as we learned earlier. One of them has also been replaced at some point. We don't know, but it is definitely a recent replacement. The one on the left is, I don't believe, fully original. I think it's partially modified. As you can tell by one of the sashes is wider than the other.
Goes out.
So this whole area is very cobbled together.
The original bathroom window for the structure. That's why it has a brick sill. It's smaller, but its header is in line and proportionate on the wall for historic construction. The window inside it was a double hung wood window with the proportions of that opening until fairly recent. The window that is in there currently that you see is a very recent replacement that was not requested. The other window was when a new bathroom was added in 1987, when it was triplexed and just chiseled out of the brick with a saw and a hammer, and has no voussoirs or anything else. But the problem with that opening is it does have the brickwork that shows that that is the original window of that size and proportion in that location, including its sill. So what you propose there will need a little bit more complex review, in my humble opinion.
Well, I don't have a problem. You're removing it and replacing it, but what you're replacing it with is a casement window rather than a double hung. Is there a reason for that?
Was that a question?
you're replacing the two windows that you're taking out, you're replacing it with a casement window based on what I see on the drawings rather than a double hung window. I think I would recommend a double hung over the casement because it's the only casement you have in the building, on the house.
Okay.
Okay, and when you do that, then are you telling us you're going to create the same header detail and the sill detail that's on the existing windows?
No. However, it could be, but
No, it's a lot more work on the header.
are we supposed to be mimicking that?
Well, I don't.
Ideally, you're not supposed to change it at all, but because the wall's been so modified and it's not visible from the street, we might consider a window replacement there, but it needs to be consistent with the design of the original house.
Which was?
So we're mimicking
Which was a brick sill. The voussoir is part of the brickwork and probably cannot be easily replicated. But the opening could be expanded, but a new sill would need to be put in if it was a wider window.
Yeah, I would say if you're willing to go with the double hung, I would forget the header detail because it's going to be such a problem, and it's on the north side, which is less noticeable.
But it will need a sill.
It will need a sill, absolutely. Yeah. So I would recommend that for that change. And the other question on the windows is that the new windows that you're adding on the back are going to be double hung, and they're going to be the same profile and detail as the other windows in the house.
Is that a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, they're going to be the same profile and detail.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see.
Just to follow up on that, because it's not shown on those windows, are you doing outside mount, flush mount, inset mount?
It would be the same as what all the others are.
Well, theoretically, but we don't have that plan specification.
That's why I'm
so
asking for the profile and detail.
they're supposed to be inset.
Okay.
So when you show us a detail of that, it would be helpful that it is shown to be slightly inset because it's a frame wall. It obviously won't be to the extent in the brick wall, but they should be inset somewhat rather than flush mounted.
Okay.
You said also that the guy that you've got making the windows is going to change out the single glazing and make it a double glazing. Is he going to do that for all windows?
No, he's capable of making new windows that way, but to refurbish the old ones that way would be a very interrogative process.
All right. Okay.
I was mentioning that he's capable of making new windows to this style, and making it so that those are double pane. So that's what the back windows would be on the porch. Those would be all double pane. But the existing windows in the main house with the voussoirs, those would not be, the glass wouldn't be changed if it didn't have to be. They would just be fixed. Like I mentioned on the plans, they would just be rehabilitated so that they were more usable and painted.
That's fine then. That answers my question. I would agree with John. There would have been nice to have some dimensions on it, as well as you have a number of numbers that are referencing either material usage or letters or numbers that are indicating window or door type, but there's no legend that tells me exactly what they are. It would be nice to be able to take a look at that and reference your numbers and letters so that we can check to see whether or not we agree with what's being done.
We'll
yeah, I apologize because in the previous historical reviews I've done, that wasn't the case. That these slides were intended to review the home, and then the construction documents that I submitted were part of it as well. So I do apologize. I wish I would have known that the construction documents are supposed to be submitted to the sub record as well.
It's not your fault. Armory Park is a special case. It's an historic preservation zone. There are only 5 of them. You mentioned you did a historic home in El Presidio, or was it Menlo?
It was El Presidio, and that's the way that we did it over there. I prepared this review in the exact same way.
Okay. The
Yeah,
permitting
but Alex, let's be clear. The instructions that I gave to you to apply for an SD number specifically said that the same documents that you submitted to get the TCRES number, which is a building permit number, that you submit the same document under this historic sub-record. I did not give you instruction to submit different documents. I said you should submit the same documents that were submitted to apply for the permit.
That's not true.
That said, let's not use that as any reason. Now, just listen to what the board is asking you to do. If the documents that you submitted for your permit contains all this information that the board is requesting, by all means, you just need to pull them from there and submit.
Yeah.
So just listen to what the board is saying. And if some of this information is already on the document that you submitted in your original application, then you just need to update it. But just pay attention to what the board is requesting from you, please.
Okay, I did, and I will double check after this meeting that it did say that.
Okay,
We're also more thorough than some boards.
That's good.
on sheet 16, you're listing it as 16 of 12. It should have been 16 of 24, but that's minor. You need to check your numbering systems on your drawings, but on there, the stem wall material, you talked about brick. Are you making that brick or block? And then you're going to stucco it, right? The stem wall?
On sheet 16?
Yeah.
Not in that set of plans, but in the set of plans we were in.
Oh, yeah. Well, forget about the numbering. So you need to correct your numbering system on the plans, but I guess what I'm getting at with my question is that you are stuccoing that back framed addition, and you're putting in a new stem wall, and you're stuccoing that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Are you when you stucco the framed building and the stucco and the stem wall? I might suggest, and this is just a suggestion and see what anybody else thinks, but I might set that stem wall, offset that stem wall an inch to the outside, so you got a definition. So the stem wall looks a little bit
yeah
from the wall.
You know, I've tried that before, and the contractors really don't like that.
All I'm trying to do is that you got a rock on the other stem wall of the main house, and it's offset.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about, and yeah, it's nice to have the stem wall proud of the face of the wall, just so that it shows a little bit of a firm bottom.
Sloping the stucco is not a problem, so I'm not too sure why he's in disagreement with that. But you know, I wouldn't argue it. But on the drawings, it appears to be a line.
The problem with doing that is if you put a wood sill on top of a masonry stem wall, the reason why they want to hang the face of the wall proud of the stem wall is so that the water doesn't intrude under the wood sill plate.
Well, there's ways of handling that detail that wouldn't cause that problem.
But again,
I'm not going to argue that point. But what are you telling me now that the main framed wall is offset from to the outside of the stem wall, and that's why there's a line there?
As I'm drawing it, it's just in line.
Why am I seeing a line there? Wouldn't it be a straight line? Wouldn't it be a straight?
That line is to indicate the difference between the wall and the stem wall.
But is that in real life when the stucco is done? Am I going to see that line?
No.
Okay.
So you're proposing actually to just have the plaster wall go from ground all the way to the rafters with no weep screed delineation
No.
or anything else, even though part of the current foundation is open piers and part of it's solid wall, you're going to close it up with no vents and no delineation from the floor line to the ground.
Yeah, so the piers are within the stem wall, and the stem wall was existing at some points around the whole perimeter. So we're proposing to rebuild that stem wall.
Well, John's point is valid. I mean, you've got to vent that crawl space. And you don't show any vents.
Okay, I can show the vents.
Okay.
If you do an incision in the plaster that basically shows the foundation line so that there's some continuity, but shows it's the new renovation of this former, possibly historic, well, part of it was partially historic porch. It will help define it architecturally, even if it is just a score line.
So you're proposing to do a score line?
Basically where you're showing there between the white and the beige.
Yeah.
That follows the foundation line from the building. It's a horizontal design detail that would help the continuity of basically turning this into an extension of the primary dwelling rather than a porch.
Would you like to see that masonry exposed?
Not necessarily. It's your choice. If it's brick, it's nice if it's brick, and you'll have less problems with splashback than if it's plastered all the way to the ground and you get creep up the concrete finish, which I assume you're using, as it moves up towards the walls and then goes over the various materials. You could have moisture problems over time with it, but the way a wood frame porch sitting on piers connects to the ground has a enclosed addition that's supposed to somewhat match the original building, could create some future water problems for you with what your contractor is proposing to you, in my humble opinion.
Okay.
No. On the north side, you show the steps and the landing. I was going to look it up. I don't know what the code says, but if you're a certain height above ground, you have to have guardrails. Are you putting any guardrails on that landing and the steps?
There's no guardrails shown.
Well, I don't know what the code requires. I forgot what it is for a residence. I think it's 30 inches.
I think it's 30.
Yeah,
Do you recall, Michael? At what height off the ground do steps need
guardrails.
a rail?
Well,
Is it 30 or 36? I can't remember.
If it's a non-code issue, then fine. You know,
if it's less than 2 feet, it probably isn't an issue.
Yeah.
And I assume you're also taking out the current metal rails that are there now on the back porch.
You know, I'm not showing them in here. However, I haven't discussed that with the client.
Okay. Well, if you're gonna keep them or put in some sort of enclosure for that back porch, we should review it because it's on the exterior. But they are extant there, or were, as of April 25th.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. They were there as of April 23rd.
April 25th. At least when the MLS listing is still up with 50 photographs available through Zillow. I looked at it when it was for sale because I know the realtor. But you know, it's only been 3 or 4 months. I don't know what's been done in the interim, but there was a kind of a cheap 1-inch metal pipe railing all the way around the rear porch with a rail down where the steps are currently. If you're not going to have any of that, that's okay if it meets the code for the height. But we're kind of asking because these plans are somewhat vague for the complexity of the project you're doing. Apparently, the construction plans are a lot more complete, and it would have been helpful, although, to be fair, they're not required, but anything that impacts it does need to be specified, detailed, and dimensioned.
Okay.
We don't care what your floor plan is. We just need to know how the exterior fits with all of that and what the dimensions of that whole exterior fabric is.
Okay.
On the back porch, you show that the concrete slab on is resting on a concrete block. Is there a reason you're not stuccoing the concrete block below the concrete slab on the porch cover?
Because that's how it is right now. So it's an area. I'm sorry. That's an area that we don't have to touch.
Yeah.
We're trying not to touch anything we don't need to.
I guess from a standpoint of aesthetics, I might suggest you consider stuccoing the block to make it consistent. That's just a suggestion. It's not a requirement.
Okay.
You could modify, theoretically, you could modify that porch to be more in keeping. It is a non-permitted porch. It is not an historic element. You could do anything to make it more compatible with the building than what's currently there, because it's just kind of 2x4s and some metal straps from Home Depot on a kind of a cheesy concrete platform.
Yeah.
Probably poured out of a wheelbarrow.
Sure. But all these things cost a lot of money.
I realize, and it's not our preference, and we cannot tell you how to design a building.
Right.
And I do need to formally state that. But we can encourage you to do nice things if it fits within your budget that you may or may not have chosen to do because you thought existing was paramount.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are you proposing for that area?
I was
nothing in particular.
Yeah, nothing. I'm just saying it might, from a visual standpoint, aesthetic standpoint, I think the exposed block would be nicer if it was stucco, but it's not a requirement.
Okay, thank you.
On your last sheet where you talk about details and alterations, you say that the door and trim is to match the existing, but you don't tell me about what the door and window materials are and that they were to match the existing. Now you've said that. All I'd like you to do is clean up that verbiage so that you're referring to the doors, the window material, and the doors and window trim will match existing.
Update the notes.
Yeah. Assuming you're doing what you said you're going to do, that it's a non-issue, but it's not clear on the drawing on that sheet because it tells me, if I read it correctly, it just says the door and window trim shall match existing. It's more than the trim. It's the doors and the windows themselves, the actual door and window.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think someone else had mentioned that too. Thank you.
And then my last comment is repeating what John had recommended, is the mechanical. We need to know what's going on there and where that's being placed, if it's on the roof or if it's on the side or where. You got a condenser. Are you air conditioning in this or a swamp cool?
It's air conditioning and there's a mini split on either side.
Is there an HVAC in the house?
No, it's only mini splits.
Okay.
So yes, there is an HVAC.
There is an HVAC.
Which is a mini split.
Oh.
And that's going to be here on the north side, and then here on the south side.
But nothing on the west side, as is currently the case.
On the west side. Right now, there is currently one here, and we're proposing to remove that and put it here.
Okay.
All right. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
That's better.
Thank you.
Great. Maurice?
Okay. The whole plan looks pretty good. However, I think John is right. Okay, we need a little more specifications. We need building plans. Okay, it's the concept of the idea is good, quote unquote. However, the finished plans that you are providing to us do not allow, okay, to make a decision. They're incomplete. So at this point in time, I would be recommending a continuance. Okay, and once you get actual plans that you can present to us.
Can we listen to every bit?
Okay. Thank you for the input.
Save that for
conceptually, were there any specific details we haven't covered?
No, I like what you're doing. Okay, I don't see any major problems. Okay, it's you mentioned those blocks, and Sam mentioned putting some stucco on them, but I think John brought up very wisely the fact that if you're going to bring stucco all the way back to the floor, okay, then you're going to have some issues at some point, okay, with the water and humidity and whatnot. So I'm not really sure that covering those blocks with stucco is really the way to go. I would have liked to see some bricks, but if you want to keep your costs, relatively affordable, then I understand that you're going to want to keep those blocks. Again, like I say, I'm not sure that covering them with stucco is the way to go. That's about it.
Pat?
I don't think I could possibly have anything to add. It looks like the plans were initially well thought out, and certainly the presenter has been quite patient through the whole process. I think by the time you come back with the final set, we'll be ready to go.
Thank you, sir.
Helen. Or Lynn, whoever wants to first.
Okay.
Lynn, you're muted.
Helen's on, she's next, and then we'll do Lynn.
She's muted.
Okay, now you're both muted again. Which one wants to go next? Unmute yourself.
Helen will go next, okay?
Hey, Helen.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say you have done a lot of work on this, and it's very impressive. And I hope that the slew of comments is going to be helpful to you.
Yeah, it's very thorough.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Head is probably spinning.
Yeah.
Again, I think the question really is that we just need the additional documentation, because what you're planning to do is obviously very good. I have one further question for you. Sure. You don't plan to make any changes with the trees or any of the other landscape features that you have. Is that correct?
Yes. There's one sort of weedy tree that's right next to the porch extension, so that open area. And I think it's like a African sumac, I think is what they call them. And it's just like it's a really old like volunteer tree, and it's like right in the corner of that exposed block foundation. And I think that I haven't directly talked to the owner about it yet, but my understanding was that would be removed because it's just kind of a nuisance of a tree, and it's like, but that's the only thing. That's the only part of the landscape. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That was my only comment.
Thank you.
If it's berry, it probably won't give you a problem. That's a Persian lilac, but if it is actually a sumac, it will destroy your foundation, and you should remove it.
Okay.
Just from experience.
Yeah, Yeah, it's not my foundation, but yes, I understand.
Okay, Lynn, you're up next.
Y'all have asked a lot of questions that given him a lot of things to think about and complete, and I have nothing to add to that.
Okay. I only have a couple more. So, the current kitchen door is a recent replacement. It doesn't bother me. It is a very large single light door, but you can see it on the plans. It matched the original front door that was on there, in that it had 2 panels below, but instead of a single light above it, it was divided in 8 lights. That was replaced. The type of door that is there now is okay, but it will need to be specified on the plans with the dimensions to show that that is now a permitted replacement door moving forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. It was probably done from the work done on the kitchen and where you can see the bathroom walls removed. It's probably been done in the last couple of years, but it was never reviewed.
Okay. So
and there are also metal screens, opaque metal iron screens on both the front door and the door you're taking out, but not on that kitchen door. Are you planning on removing that from the front to show the original door? Or are you going to keep?
Oh, on the front door on the east?
Yes.
To remove the security screen door?
Uh-huh.
Or you know, honestly, like I said before, I think we were really trying to not modify anything we didn't have to. So
okay.
But
it's been there for a long time. It's a 70s door, but it's not the one we would normally approve. It's
so
excellent, and the prior owner put it on, and there have been no complaints for it, but we would not approve that screen door. So if you want to do a new screen door, you could, or you could open it up.
Or open it up to the
Original
historic
door.
Single light door.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll mention that
as a thought.
But
and if you are not able to replace any of the glass and you're not going to redo the windows, one concept to get better efficiency without having to double pane or any of the other stuff. If your handy guy is really handy, you could make storm windows at certain locations that would provide you the same R rating for your original windows with a little bit of bronze weather stripping or something that could help out. If you're having drafts and things, it's summer now, you won't feel it, but you might this winter.
Yeah.
Just as a thought. And if you want to do that, you can propose that to us and we could approve it.
Okay.
Or screens, if they are operable now.
Yeah, I think, I think that for the sake of this project, the idea is to really not touch most of the house and and the main focus is what was on the back, and then to bring up any of the like unoperable windows up to working and then really leave it. But you bring up a good point, and I will bring that up with the owner about that front door. Talking more about the future, about what they're really planning to do with that door, and I can make sure I include it in there.
Okay. And when you are reimagining for the next time we see this, the kitchen window.
Yeah.
You should keep the voussoir in. If you expand the opening, you'll probably have to put a steel plate in it and take it out of a section and brick up the window that you're closing up. But you will need to replicate the sill detail for functionality. So, and we will need the dimensions because you are modifying an original opening, because that one that has a sill is the original opening.
Right. So that opening, I don't because there's the kitchen counter is below it. If we were to bring that opening down to the belt course, it would be far below the top of the kitchen counter. So it wouldn't be able to extend down to the belt course.
I realize that, but it looks like it's going down a little bit, does not have a sill, and is encompassing the current opening and part of the brick wall that you're taking out, but patching the current little casement window that sits higher up. And we don't have the dimensions, and your trim detail that you're proposing can't sit flush with a casement window. It will need to be inset in a new opening, masonry opening, if you do modify that whole area and make
Okay,
it.
so I'm sorry to interrupt you. So you weren't talking about the belt course, you were talking about this sill here?
Yes. So if you make that window wider and take out part of the brick between those two current windows to make an expanded width window, you will
like to see the sill.
Yeah, you will need to
Yeah.
put in a sill detail when you open that up. But
Great.
do not damage the voussoir brickwork over that window, even if you can't replicate it in the remains of the brickwork moving forward as you repair that area.
Okay. So
leave
it.
So the wall will still read that that was the size of the original opening, but considering its location and the need and the new floor plan where that is no longer a bathroom, we're considering allowing you to modify an original opening to make it larger, but it will need to be within Secretary of Interior standards for so doing, so that the history of the wall can be seen.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I think just to send it back to you. So we will retain this voussoir here.
Yes.
And then over here, so we'll retain that head height right across. And then, I mean, this is obviously still in play, but over to here, and then I'll bring it back down. And then where I'll fill it in, that'll just be matching brick, but you'll still be able to see that story of that history of this still embedded in the wall here.
So the most western indent should be the existing indent, and the window should not be any taller because of that voussoir, or you'll damage that architectural detail.
Yes.
But it could be slightly lower with a replacement sill.
Okay. Got it.
So that the wall can be read by future historians.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
Because it's pretty complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated, but yeah, I mean, I could imagine this. I could imagine this wedge header still there, so you could still see it. However, the new window opening would be just below it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, this is going to be a very lengthy legal action report with all of our comments and requests, and so I'm hoping to get the recording of this very soon to do that. But I believe there is a consensus that the board should continue this to allow you to put all this stuff together so we have a clean package that will make all your subsequent reviews much smoother.
So are you guys wanting the construction documents?
We are wanting
submitted to the sub record.
If you already have them and are willing to share them, they will help so you don't have to replicate the details in them.
Yeah.
Even though we technically do not need to see the replaced floor plan, but it will show the window depths, the window schedule, because we do need a window schedule, we need dimensions, we need materials, all of that, and any of the other sorts of things. We don't need to have the electrical specifications except the location of the external box and the plans that we see for your site plan. You should actually do not just the overall site plan with the dimensions of the lot, but probably the perimeter, which you have in your construction drawings, showing the locations of any external stuff that is supplemental to this.
Okay.
So a combination, you can probably pull most of it up and then just add a couple and then fix your notes on these pages.
Sure.
But we leave it to you.
So
okay.
Yeah, members of the board, Lynn just sent a message to say that her phone died, so she's no longer on.
Okay, at what time?
That was like
8:10. Okay, Lynn leaves the meeting. We still have a quorum. Okay, do I hear a motion to continue the case for more documentation?
Yes, I will recommend a motion for further continuance in the case.
A second.
Maurice and Stan. Okay.
And I'm sorry, who was that? Who was that?
Maurice made the motion and Stan seconded the motion.
Thank you.
And we still have a 5. I vote yes.
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Maurice? Helen?
Aye.
Great. 5-0. It passes. So just so you know, we're allowed to do this once as a board. After that, if there are any problems, and I don't think there will be, because we're going to let you know exactly what we want. And I think it sounds like you already have it. It just wasn't in the package we saw. So
Yeah.
if we have to, we could probably do a special meeting in a couple of weeks. Otherwise, it's October. I don't know what your timeline is. Do you have any thoughts on when you want to put a revised package together and work with Michael to come back?
Yeah, I'd like to, at least within the next, hopefully next week, just meet with the client and wrap it up and then shoot it back off to you guys. So
my question to you is, you definitely have an idea of what this board is requesting from you, right?
yeah, basically,
based on condition that you have to do X, Y, Z. You know the things that the board is asking from you, right?
yes, you need to know exact dimensions and heights of the doors, and you need to know more specific material choices, and you need to know the lights and the panes of the doors, and you need to know whether or not the screen door is going to stay or go, and you need to know more specific details about the dimension of the door about the kitchen, etc. Correct?
Yeah, the window and the replacement of the current kitchen door and the repair of the south parlor door and
the wall.
Yeah.
And the wall, the stem wall where it terminates, if the bricks will be exposed or not, correct?
Yeah, details like that and the type of stucco. I will try to put all that in the legal action report for you. I'll try to have it out. I'll promise it by Monday. It's going to be like a 9-pager again.
That's great. I mean, Monday's
and Michael
fine.
can forward the draft to you on that. Also, this recording should be posted so you can listen to it again and again in a day or two.
That's what I was going to say. This recording that we're doing today will be posted on the city website. You can go back and listen to this, and you hear all what is being discussed here. John will work on the legal action report and send it to me, and I can share that with you in writing. And you can also listen to the recording to actually get of what the body is saying.
I want to say this really quickly, that I think it's really important for you guys to add to your punch list those requirements, because in my prior reviews, I prepared it specifically the same way, and it was enough for the board to understand and give me a pre-approval stating that as long as things were in certain requirements, you could say, excuse me, as long as things were in certain requirements, then you are passed. And then I was able to go on and complete the construction documents from, let's say, 90 to 100%, and then resubmit. And then Jody was able to come back and verify that I had made those correct things and that they were in line with the approval, and that made the process salient and easy to go on without interruption. This is allowing me to go all the way back, which is fine. But if I had known that this level of detail was needed, I would have put it in.
I can't explain. This is our first contact with you.
No, that's fine.
Every HP board is different.
I know that they're different, but on the website, they're not.
We're here to help.
You cannot be discussing the case again after a conclusion.
Just it shouldn't be hard for you guys to put it on the website so that next time the whoever blah 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 architect looks at those requirements as they've been trained to do, they'll see what they need to submit to you, and then they'll do it. If you get someone who's not an architect
with the process, it has changed dramatically and is continuing to change.
The city charged me for a full building review just to submit to you guys. So I had to call and say, hey, why did you submit?
Let's set the record straight if you want to go that route. The fee you pay is for a full review, which includes coming to Armory Park and going to plans review. That is the fee that was charged to you. And I believe at the time you submitted your document, we didn't charge you for the increase in the fee. It was like $192.50.
Yeah,
so, let's not talk about the fees now. You have heard what the board has said. The board has heard your case. They have concluded. We need to move to the next case.
Yeah, we are trying to help. And
Thank you.
Next time we see you, it is smooth sailing. And then your subsequent reviews after that will be smooth sailing too.
Yeah.
As soon as we get everything ready, I will be ready to schedule you in the next agenda.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. When I mentioned full review, I understand the payment of full review for historic, but I'm talking about a full building residential review was also submitted to me. So that's not on your purview. For that, the city of Tucson asks us to first submit to building residential before we can then get to you guys. So I have complete radio silence between me and you before I can even get to you. And that costs hundreds of dollars to the client. And it cost a whole month of our time before I even got your email on my email list.
Well, you're submitting to the wrong body.
But online, it tells me to do it that way.
We concur that the online permitting system does not work very well for historic, and we share your concerns, but we are not responsible for them, so we can't help. I'm sorry.
I know you're not. No, I know.
But we share your pain, trust us.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult for us to maneuver it now too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. We look forward to the next one, and we'll try to help you do it as expeditiously as possible.
Great. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Okay. On to item 5, design guideline projects. I am a design guideline project. I am looking at them and trying to revise them into a smaller set. I've got the data from Ken again. I got my original drawings back so we can do some rescans for the version 5 that this board approved in 2019, but did not make it through plans review. But all boards are now revising their guidelines. So it's a project that we do need to do, and I will not let you go, even though I will be stepping down, have to step down because I term out at the end of the year, but I can.
This year?
Yes, as does Pat. Yes. So we'll do that under call to the board because there's something I want to discuss with you all about that, but I will stay for the guidelines moving forward, even if I'm not an advisory board. So that's that. Minor reviews. The only minor review was for a solar at South 4th Avenue.
345.
Yeah, it's 345. It's the school that was turned into a pink mission style house that Bridget and Brent Barber live in. That has a very high parapet because it used to be a really low 50s school. All the solar was hidden from the street, so it was approved as presented. That was in the second week of April, and I will put the specific details in the minutes, but that's the only minor review we've had since May. Okay. Item 7, call to the board. I have reached out to about 15, 20 people trying to get more people on. The board will be down to 4 people. if Pat and I term out and we can't find anybody else. So if we can get more people, that would be great. One thing that is an option though, if the four of you, Maurice, Lynn, Helen, and Stan, moving forward, I don't know who wants to be chair out of all of that and the other stuff next year. We can put in new applicants at a special meeting in November in conjunction with the APNM annual meeting. We usually hold elections and try to solicit membership, people from the audience who wish to volunteer that we can forward to people. So put that on your calendar in addition to the potential regular meeting the following week. And that is an in-person only. But one of the options that exists for advisory boards is to allow the board to appoint advisory members who can take part in the discussion, but not be voting members appointed by mayor and council. And I would offer to do that. I'm trying to get Martha and Steve Grady to help out if you need help with the conversation moving forward where it's hard to reach a quorum.
Is there a minimum number we have to have on the board?
We're supposed to have 6. It can function with 4. A couple of the other boards have been, Barrio got down to 2, 3 there for a little while. And El Presidio got down to 2 or 3. So the city still does it if it kind of is in line with a statute.
Chair for the non-voting members and advisory members, they still have to be appointed.
By who?
Mayor and council.
That's not the way it works within PRS. So I'm trying to get with Terry, who did it with Helen and other people.
That's the way it works. Helen is there. She was
okay. So theoretically, mayor and council could appoint me as an advisory member,
yes,
even if I am not a member of the advisory board.
No,
in my gap year.
You'll be in the advisory board, you'll be a non-voting member.
But I can't move forward because I have to take a mandatory 1-year gap. So the emeritus status holds in other advisory boards, so past presidents can come in and help the board out if they aren't familiar with the code or some other things. Stan, you're really learning the code well, thank God. Maurice is good experience, but Pat and I are going. Helen's really good, but she's very busy, and Lynn is still learning. So which we're going to try to get some more members, but on a future agenda this year, I'd like to put it on so that the board can allow for however the city allows advisors to the board that can participate in the conversation. And I'll explore that more legally so we can have it as a specified item that can be voted on at a future agenda item. But I wanted to throw that out there.
It will still be very necessary to have board members because since the advisory members cannot vote, they do not count for the quorum.
Yeah.
We don't.
We don't count as the vote or the quorum. We could just help out in the discussion.
4, we gotta have at least 3.
Yes. If you have 4, you need to have at least 3 for the meeting function.
So it's not looking good. If any of you can find people that would be interested in learning about it, even if they're not, technical people, there are openings in the residents, in the special districts and property owner categories.
Yeah, the categories, you have to be a resident, memory park, or you have to be a property owner, or you have somebody who is in a special category. Those are the 3 categories.
I'd love to have a 12, but she can't because there can't be 2 family members on the board.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is Steve interested in that?
Steve just became the chair of his department at Pima Community College. So he's kind of busy. And some of the other people who've been really good on plans review are on sabbatical now for 6 months. So that one's not functioning really smoothly either. So it's tough here going into the end of the year. So there's that. Pardon?
I said we may not even have a plans review of the 26.
Okay. And Michael's gonna do some follow-up, but just so you know, if you don't already, Jody resigned after an issue with a project that didn't follow normal protocols. And there is no HPO. The city is hoping to have one by the end of the year. The Historic Commission created a subgroup to work with the city to come up with a duties and job description and what the office and staffing should be. And that's going to be an ongoing discussion moving forward. Christina Swallow, who had been the planning director, is now the assistant city manager, but oversees planning and development. And Corinne Manning is now the acting planning director. She moved up, and Dan Bursa has moved up from lead planning and sub to be the overseer of historic in the interim. So there's no one trained in historic in the city anymore. One thing we are trying to get is to make the historic preservation officer in response to historic issues be a requirement within the planning department instead of just being requested to be consultant, because that probably was an issue in the violation cases that led to Jody leaving the city.
Was it an issue with TEP or Tucson Water?
There were 3 violations, some involving federal areas, some with Tucson Water, some with parks. The federal plan apparently got involved and triggered because it impacted Native American grave sites that were damaged during a permitted project. The city's being kind of tight-lipped about it, and so I don't want to spread any rumor, but it was an unfortunate situation for all involved. And if you ever hear from Jody, please say thank you for us, personally. In many ways, although we had our difficulties, I'm very sad to see her go. So.
Yes, same here.
Nope.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Send
our good wishes and let us know what goes on beyond that. Other than that, there's some planned Tucson meetings this week. I did talk to Dan Bursek about the accessory dwelling unit question. The state statute created a problem where ADUs can now be up to 25 feet high, and they don't have to match in configuration, materials, or design the front building. But because all of the other design criteria apply in an HPZ, a new accessory dwelling unit cannot be built taller than the contributing structure on the site. So we will still have that purview because of the design guidelines standards, but it's an issue that he is considering as it now moves to mayor and council, and that will be in early October. And when the final draft, because there were a bunch of typos in the red line that the Planning Commission approved last month, moves forward, I encourage you all to go when it is scheduled to mayor and council and comment if there's a problem. And I plan on doing so too. I'll keep you posted for informational purposes among the board of the date and time of that. I think that's it for me. Royce, anything?
Money is very tight. It seems there's a number of construction sites in Armory Park that are not going through because there's no money.
That's all over the city.
Well, it's not very, the Feds are supposed to decrease the interest rate tomorrow. It's my feeling.
Hold your breath if you want to.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to turn blue in the face. I don't think this is going to happen. Okay. But, whatever. But like I said, it seems, sales have been slowly, I've been very, very slow. Okay. And like I said, construction has pretty much come to a halt.
Yeah.
So
It's been slow all year.
you know, until we see the election through, I don't think we're going to see too much going on. Okay.
So we may have to have meetings where we address actual internal issues rather than reviews so that we can get the business of the year done.
Oh yeah, you can actually do that. You don't need to have
Okay,
a project.
so I'm just prepping everyone for that.
If people just feel that you need to have a meeting, even if we have no project for you to review, let me know. We'll still set on an agenda for you. We'll still be a problem.
Okay, Stan?
A couple of things. One, that project that was on 18th and 4th, that was like
They ran out of money. They put up the lot for sale with completed plans, but the individual 6 houses that are now approved to the FLD process for the general site plan and the lot lines, those were approved, but the houses, when a future owner buys it, and if they wish to develop it that way, we'll still have to come back for full review.
Yeah, it's except for so $950,000.
Yeah.
for the lot and the plans.
The lot and the plans and the approvals if they build what has been approved so far.
The other one was the Tucson Electric Power Lines. What happened? I saw that it was approved, but I couldn't find the map and where it was going.
It's design version 2 and 6, I think.
But it's not coming anywhere near us.
No.
It's not going to affect Armory Park, but it's 36 up Park and Euclid, and then it jogs, and then it goes up Euclid between West University and West University, and then down Speedway, and then north on Park. And the ACC approved it. There are litigation cases to get sections in the historic districts undergrounded, but don't bet on it because
those are really high, tall.
They're between 75 and 110 feet. And I hope they go on the university side rather than the other side, but TEP is free to do whatever they're damn well going to do.
And it's still going above ground, nothing in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that they were looking to find money for underground.
But Armory Park's not affected. I got us, Maurice and I got us exempted. So yeah, we're safe.
Does it?
Hallelujah.
It's going to go to plans review. See, in October.
In October? Okay, I'll probably attend that.
It's going to go to plans review. I have it up.
Okay.
To do this.
Hi, Helen. You are speaking. No, you blinked.
So,
Hi.
yeah,
You're
I
next.
realize that, and John, I don't know if you know this yet, but the working group for Plan Tucson will be meeting with city staff on September 25th at noon. And the working group is an open meeting. So if anybody's interested, they can tune in on that. And I have to say, the city has been very collaborative on this project. It's been really a pleasure working with them.
Good to hear. Thank you. Do you have anything else to add?
That's it.
Under call to the board. Okay. Pat, anything?
No.
Okay. Next, item 8, which is doubled up staff updates and future agenda items. Michael, anything?
You already gave your update, so I have nothing to add.
Okay. Maria, you are with us. Do you have anything now that you are overseeing Michael in conjunction with Dan? You can introduce us because we're going to see you now, right? Maria?
Yes, trying to
Hi.
make this machine work for me. Hello, Mr. Chair.
Thanks
members
for joining
of the board.
us.
Yes, I've been asked to join. My name is Maria Galloso. John knows me. The rest of you probably don't. My name is Maria Galloso. I'm a principal planner at PDSD. I've been working for the city of Tucson for 26 years, doing different things, but not historic preservation.
Although you're familiar because you've had to go through all those loops over the last 7 or 8 years with the IID design review, infill and the design
yes,
review.
yes, but I relied completely on the historic preservation officer to help me out with those portions of the overlay projects. But yeah, I've been asked to help as much as I can, help projects move forward through the system. Help in any way I can, of course, working closely with Michael Taku and, under the umbrella of Dan Bursuk. So I'll be here, sort of, because I was also running the West University historic board.
Okay.
And I posed this question to them, and I would like to pose it to you as well, to maybe consider at least temporarily, maybe moving this meeting, this regularly scheduled meeting. I don't know what the right process would be if the board wishes to consider moving the meeting to another day or time, just because we're so short-staffed and, it's difficult to be in two places at the same time. And of course, the boards deserve the support from staff as much as we can provide it. So I hated to not being able to join you at the beginning of the meeting, but that's something that I would like to request the board to think about. Again, I don't know what the process would be, if that's something that you would be open, on discussing.
It's a little bit more complicated because now that we've returned to hybrid meetings, we do, for complex issues and things, we do the board. So everybody in the neighborhood is prepared for the third Tuesday at 6:30 at the school, or by Zoom, depending upon it. So we can have special meeting alternate dates, but that's what's already posted for the calendar year from the city clerk's office. They go kind of back and forth between meetings has needed and the third Tuesday thing, but we need a little bit more information of what to do it so we can get availability. It'll still need to be an evening meeting.
Oh, definitely. We want to make sure that people in the neighborhood can attend. Yeah. Definitely in the evening.
The problem is Tuesday is a good access day for the school. I will have to consult the school to see if proposed alternate date might work.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the decision of being hybrid, but the decision of being hybrid for this board was because you get a lot of people from the neighborhood attending these meetings in person.
We do occasionally on complex issues, but we have found that a live discussion like you heard tonight, which is really not possible on a Zoom meeting, furthers and reduces the barriers to a much better experience and review. Zoom meetings are basically, they produce a word cloud, but it's one by one and raising hands and no chats and no shared information. And it's very limited input. So we think public participation, which is really vital for these things, needs to continue, and hybrid is the only option moving forward. We will be having one live meeting in November, and that's the annual when we do elections, and it's the week before the scheduled third Tuesday. And that will not be a hybrid, and there will be no Zoom cameras. So you'll just get my minutes of names. It's a single item.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But if the board is open to perhaps changing the day of the meeting, that would be helpful. If not, then we'll just keep juggling.
Okay. Hopefully this isn't going to continue that much longer. Let's see if West University jumps the shark first.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I already requested also for them to think about it, and again, I need to find the legal way, right, to try to achieve something like this type of change. I never done it, so I'm not sure how that's done.
The changing of the day is not any legal thing involved. It is the board that decides the days that they want to hold their meeting. Fort Law was having meetings on Tuesday, and they just voted to change from Tuesday to Monday. They're having meetings now on Monday. So it is the board that actually decide what day they want to have their meeting. So it's not a city clerk thing or anything. It's a board thing.
Yeah,
Any day that the board decides that they want to have a meeting, they can have. Not follow. Air Procedure told us they want their meetings on Monday. First, they had a specific day, and then they just said, no, just keep Monday, but we have it anytime that we have cases or as needed. So sometimes Air Procedure will have meetings on Wednesdays, on Thursdays, on Tuesday. They don't have any specific day per se. So it is just up to this board and West University to decide if this board cannot change the Tuesday time. Maybe West University can go on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday or a Thursday or any other day. So it's just up to the board.
We can always modify it on a case-by-case basis too. The problem is that third Tuesday has been the day in Armory Park that neighbors know about these things for 37 years.
Yeah, and there's a whole logistic with the school as well. So let me see what West University comes up with.
Fine.
And then I may reach out to you again.
Keep you posted.
See you later.
Are we losing quorum?
No, we're down to 4. We still have a quorum. It's
okay.
8:48 for Pat. We're almost wrapped up here, but
okay.
Thanks
but anyway, I wanted to bring that to the table, but if I need, your help, I may reach out again.
Okay. What did you think of our review?
I was late.
The parts you heard, were they okay?
I think I joined in at 7:30 or something like that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So I didn't get to see the beginning of the discussion or the presentation by the applicant, but that's something I'll discuss with Michael and others in the office about, making sure that applicants have everything we need before we go.
It's really hard, and Jody did work on it. She came up with a new checklist that she shared with people, but as Michael well knows, if the applicant doesn't really familiarize themselves with the requirements of the historical review and prep themselves, then they usually get continued with us.
Yes. And they're not the only ones, and not only through this board, it happens with other bodies. Other review, committees or boards, can request the applicant to come back with additional material if those bodies, feel like they're not demonstrating compliance with, certain requirements. So
we can discuss this by a phone call one of these days, please. Rather than keeping the board going. So anything else, Michael, or can we go ahead and adjourn?
No, you can go ahead and adjourn.
Okay. Anything else, Helen? Are you okay to adjourn?
Good to adjourn.
There she is.
Okay, we are adjourning the meeting at 8:45 p.m. Thank you all, and I will keep you updated on the information discussed here tonight. Let's see, the clerk's office closed out. What was her name that joined us? Maria?
Oh, you mean Christina?
Oh, Cristina Naya. She's one of our administrative assistants in the office. Yeah, Cristina Anaya, Anaya.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, when do you think you can send me when do you think the recording will be posted?
I imagine either tomorrow or Friday.
Okay. I'll try to get these out because he may need a special meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Great to see you. Thanks for coming.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good night, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We're done?
Yeah, we're done.
We're good.
Thank you for it. Is there any chance you could